Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 18th regular business board meeting of the Board of Directors. We're going to have a number of presentations this evening, and then I'm going to open it to audience recognition on agenda items only. And then at the end of the meeting, there will be audience recognition on any item that you would, any issue you would like to raise with us. So right now, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Marseille.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Before I get started, I want to say that many community members have asked our office how we can help support the Valentine family following the tragic accident that took the life of one of our beloved and talented colleagues, Jeremy Valentine, last month. Jeremy's children, Molly and Luke, are out of the hospital with their family. Jeremy's wife, Shauna, continues her courageous recovery in the hospital, and wanted to say that this Sunday from 5 to 7 p.m. at Wynwood Valley Park, the community is invited to participate in ice cream social to benefit the college fund of Molly and Luke Valentine. This event is being presented by the Penguin HSA, Penguin Civic Association, Penguin Library, and the Overbrook Preschool, and Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream. Information about the event is also available on our website, so please, I encourage you to visit that. The family has also shared with us a website to keep friends and others updated on the Valentine during this difficult time. And the website is caringbridge.org. You can search for the Valentine family, but we do have information on our website. But I know since that announcement, we've rallied around and the staff and the community to support the Valentine family as much as possible. So I wanted to at least make comments about where you can go and continue that that support. So as we get started, I wanted to, during this process, this time really kind of start the meetings with some celebrations of what's happening around our district since the last time we met on July 21st. So several things that I want to applaud our staff and students. The first is a huge congratulations to Lower Merion teacher Christina Minetti. Some of you may know her, and volunteer coach Rick Atkins, who many of you have known. They were inducted as part of the inaugural class of the Philadelphia Area Disc Alliance Hall of Fame last weekend. And Christina and Rick have been instrumental in building the Ultimate program in Lower Merion and turning it into one of the most successful high school Ultimate programs in the country. Their recognition is well deserved, so kudos for the work and the recognition that they bring to the district and the great work they do with their students. So we're excited about Ultimate and the good things that are happening with that. In addition, I want to celebrate the work of Lower Merion Jazz Band. Earlier this summer, under the direction of Andrew New, they traveled to Italy. I was not part of that trip. For a series of performances throughout. Our students were warmly received in every stop along their way and represented our school community exceptionally well. So they really live up to the motto, enter to learn and go forth to serve. So they had a great experience there and were welcomed, and we want to acknowledge and congratulate the work that they've done. Obviously, everyone is, school is in the air, sports are out practicing. It's a great thing. Today was extremely exciting for me because we had our teacher induction this morning where we welcomed 50 teachers into the district, where we spent several hours just really having a preliminary conversation and talking about the Lower Merion School District experience, the family experience, and really happy that they're on board. And it goes through Thursday, so there's more activities to come, and I'll update the community and the board as we move forward. So that's usually a sign when you have sports starting, practice, and teacher induction that September's right around the corner in terms of opening school, so I'm very excited about having those conversations. I guess I'm next. So at this time, I'll go and we want to have a presentation briefly about where we've been with regards to bus parking and issues of enrollment. So. Good evening from this side of the of the microphone. We wanted to provide the community with an update with the ongoing conversation around bus parking and really also as well as enrollment expansion. On July 21st, we had a meeting that was held in Lower Marion High School auditorium. And there we talked about the need for bus parking enrollment and what we wanted to follow back with, and wanted to say that we listened and we heard the voices of the community at large and the ballot community, and we respect and honor the vision of the community, but we seek to work together to find a solution for our growing population. And that growing enrollment is real, and because of that, we need to think about finding space for additional staff and administrators and students as well. So we did take those comments very seriously. We welcome those comments in the spirit of collaboration and collegiality, and went back and really started examining and thinking, was there any other ways in which we can think about this process, a process that is not just a solution that the district can come up with by itself, and it requires a tremendous amount of community engagement and dialogue. And what we've done since then is really engage with the Board of School Directors and Township Commissioners and Narberth Borough Council to begin thinking about what are additional ways in which we can address the short and long-term needs of the district and the community. While we currently look at and review our current locations, think about, are there additional opportunities that could provide some level of relief and support for our collective issue here, and that is student enrollment. So tonight I'll be joined really very quickly by Pat Gannanan, who will walk through some of the slides that talk to the work that has taken place. Many of this, I believe some of you have seen before, others maybe for the first time, but some of these slides have been presented in previous meetings and are on our website, but we wanted to at least give you a sense of where we've been, where we are now, and what the next steps are for not only the district, but for the community at large. So we're going to talk about enrollment, which is driving this conversation, and look at and review some of the elementary and middle school projects that are currently in place, look at the repurposing of this building for additional classroom space, and talk about where we are with our search with additional parking. So many of you are familiar with this slide. If you are not, what you're looking at is slides that speak to the blue line, which is our projected growth, and the line, which is our actual growth. And we stated the last meeting and several meetings that enrollment growth is real, and it is here. And the last 2 years, we have far exceeded or exceeded, I'll take out the far, exceeded our current projections. And we are going to obviously wait to our 10-day count to see where we are. But I have to say, preliminarily, looking at the numbers and talking with my staff, that where we are right now in terms of enrollment and registration is much higher than we were last year. So as always, if things can go up, I guess they can go down. But when we look at the numbers, it appears to us that where we are right now exceeds that, and we have a large number of students and family members who are still in that registration process, and we'll see how that will turn out, and we'll keep the board and the public abreast to that. And so here you'll see some slides that speak to some of the work that we've done over the course of last year and before, in terms of where we are with enrollment, the enrollment study that was done, the look at the elementary and middle school recommendations for renovations and additions, the approval of Penn Valley, Bala Cynwyd, Welsh Valley for additions across the board. So I want to reiterate that, and I said it before, that this solution with regards to finding additional space for our buses is an enrollment conversation. And we are very optimistic and look forward to continue to work with the township and the commissioners to find a solution to what I believe to be a community conversation, not just a district conversation. And with that, I think Pat is a much better expert in walking through some of the construction work that we've done in the past, and he'll brief you on those.
So as the previous slide showed, in January of 2013, the board approved additions and renovations at 4 schools. It approved a projects to add 4 classrooms each at Penn Valley and at Gladwin, to add a 12 classroom addition at Welsh Valley Middle School, and also to expand and convert space into classrooms at Bala Cynwyd Middle School. These projects have begun. Some are complete. All of them will be complete by the end of next summer. The board also last year spent a lot of time looking at enrollment increases and their impact at the high school level, and they looked at the concept of repurposing the empty classrooms in this building, the district administration office, for use by Lower Merion High School in the future. So I'll talk about this briefly. This is a site plan of Gladwin Elementary School. You see Riders Mill Road rather, on the right-hand side. The project here is to add a 4 classroom addition in this location. And in order to accommodate enrollment growth and give us some swing space, last summer we installed temporary classrooms in this location. The permanent classrooms are scheduled to complete in October, and once they're complete, the temporary classrooms will go away. And we'll have to spend some time restoring the field where the temporary classrooms are located. Moving on to Penn Valley. This again is a site plan of Penn Valley, Riders Mill Road at the bottom, Hagees Ford Road on the right, Margot Lane. The concept here was to add 4 classrooms on the end of what was known as the 5th grade wing. And I'm happy to report that this project is complete. These classrooms are ready to go, and they'll be used by the school this fall. There were no temporary classrooms put in place at Penn Valley. And this fall we'll be finishing up some site work related to the project. Moving on to Bala Cynwyd Middle School, most of the work here is complete, and it was done inside the school. The only modification to the outside is a proposed storage addition, which is shown in the dotted red line on the left-hand side of the outline of the building. What we did do is convert spaces into classrooms. This is the lowest level of the school, the same level as the cafeteria. We converted 2 spaces last summer into classrooms. On the next floor up, we converted space even before that from what was a large group instruction room into 2 computer labs and a small group instruction room. This also shows the lower level of proposed storage addition, which will begin construction next spring and finish next summer. And then on the main level of the building, we converted what was a wrestling gymnasium into 2 classrooms. We moved the main office in order to enhance our security posture at the school. And we also are looking at the second story of the storage addition. So all the work, with the exception of the storage addition, is complete at Bala-Cynwyd. Moving on to Welsh Valley, this is a site plan of Welsh Valley. You see Tower Lane on the left, Hagees Ford Road on the right. What is not shown here is the additional property that we gained by buying the former St. Justin site. The primary project here is to add 12 classrooms by constructing a wing that will bridge between the gymnasium and the AB classroom building. And also to create a new lobby to enhance our security, and then to rearrange and repurpose some of the space inside the administration area. Not shown, also we're doing HVAC upgrades throughout the complex. This work has begun this summer. It is in progress. It will stay in progress throughout the school year and complete at the end of next summer. So if we take a look at some of the schedules that we've been showing, this one has to do with the 2 middle schools, Gladwin at the top, Penn Valley at the bottom. As I stated earlier, Gladwin should be finished in October, so we'll have our additional classrooms available. And Penn Valley is complete now, so we have those additional classrooms. Moving on to the middle schools, our classrooms at Bala-Cynwyd were mostly complete last fall. Some didn't complete until the following phase was completed in January. But we have the additional classrooms, and all that's left to do is the storage addition. And then Welsh Valley, we plan to have our additional classrooms available by the end of next summer. So one of the things the board looked at was repurposing the space in the 2nd and 3rd floor of this building, the district administration office, to accommodate enrollment growth at Lower Merion High School. And some of the things that need to be done are listed on this slide here. When we did renovations in this building in 2010, 2011, the first 2 items, which are major HVAC upgrades and fitting out a group restroom on the 3rd floor, were actually part of the design, and they were bid out. But we bid them as alternates, and we elected not to take those alternates at the time. So that would have to be done. We would also be looking at classroom fit out. Most of the spaces are already configured as classrooms, but we also may be looking at creating some potential science labs, and that's a little bit more intense with utilities, et cetera. And then there are some additional minor code upgrades to be done. So I have 3 slides here. They show the 3 levels of the building that kind of explain this concept. The first floor is shown here, and as we see, the first floor already has a lot of space dedicated to the high school. There's a gymnasium, and there are locker rooms associated with the gymnasium. There are also 2 classrooms shown at the top of the slide that have been completely outfitted and are available for use by the high school. And when we begin to use this building, we will most likely establish a visitor screening station on the first floor. Looking at the second floor, we've targeted the classrooms along the rear of the building that face the new high school to be available for classrooms. 3 of these rooms are currently being used as meeting rooms, and the others are used for administrative space, so we would have to move administrators out of that space. And then the entire 3rd floor could be made available. There are 13 classrooms, 5 of which could be laboratory space. There are some administrators on this level, but we should be able to move them to other locations. So we talked about additional classroom space for Lower Merion High School. We know that the enrollment increase is going to produce a need for additional parking as well. And the parking is going to be required for the staff that we hire and for the additional students. So the solution that we are pursuing at this point as the best solution is to repurpose the area on the high school that's currently being used for bus parking. In other words, move the buses off the site and use that space for parking that's going to be required in the future. And we think that between the space that is currently being occupied by buses and the spaces we would recover by the bus drivers no longer parking here, we would meet almost all the requirement that we anticipate. This is a plan of the school. You have Montgomery Avenue on the right there going up and down. Each of the parking lots on site is lettered, as you can see there, A through E. And then you could see in the center of the picture, lower center, is where the buses are parked. So that's the space we could recoup. Taking a look at the entire bus picture, this chart shows our fleet composition and location. We have a total of 119 buses, the majority of which are parked at our Matson Ford Road site, which is strictly a site for transportation. There are no schools located there. There are 25 at Harriton. There are 24 at Lower Merion. The numbers of buses at Harriton and Lower Merion represent upper limits that were placed on us through conditions of approval when we received the approval for the 2 high school projects. So one of the things we've been exploring since July 21st is what could be done at the Matson Ford Road site. As you see here, this is an overhead picture. The empty space that you might think you're seeing is actually the car parking for all the drivers and employees on site. This obviously was taken on a weekend, or Google took all the cars out. I don't know. But at this location, not only do we have 70 buses, but we have our transportation offices and our maintenance garage. And as you can see, we have 104 employees parking on the site. So the concept we've been exploring is how we could construct a parking deck or a parking structure that would allow us to park more buses on site. So we looked at a concept where we would build a parking deck just to the rear of the shop building that you saw there. This is the shop building. So this would be the proposed deck. And the way this would be done is we would start by going into this area. This is a hill that goes from a lower level up to a higher level. We would dig into this hill and create a retaining wall and have enough space to have a double row of parking on the ground level. And then we would build a deck over the top of that with double row of parking, and that deck would be accessible from the upper parking lot. So we would not have to construct a ramp. So this is a concept right now. We think it could gain us the ability to park as many as 20 additional buses there, but it is not the solution. It's not the full solution. I mentioned that we had 24 buses at Lower Merion that we need to find a home for. We also anticipate additional buses in the future as the enrollment increases rather. So the Matson Ford Road concept in and of itself is not the full answer. To follow through on the concept, we'll need PennDOT approvals. We'll also need land development approval from the Lower Merion Township Commissioners. So as we go forward, we look forward to continue collaboration and dialogue with the commissioners. We'll spend some more time analyzing Matson Ford Road, and there are some resolutions on the agenda tonight to allow consultants to move forward and examine that concept more closely, and then we'll continue to examine other alternatives.
Thank you, Mr. Ganan. What I'd like to do is have Mr. Driscoll present his report of the meeting with the Township Commissioners and Narberth Borough, and then open it up for some questions, if that's okay. I'd also like to just make sure everyone understands that you talked about, Pat, you talked about safety improvements at these schools, but we made safety improvements at many of the schools that needed them, and that this was just in reference to changes we were making because of enrollment growth.
Correct.
So I just want to make sure everybody's
That's correct.
aware of that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gilbert. I have a prepared statement that I showed to everybody who attended the last meeting, so hopefully I got everything right. So I'm just going to read it verbatim. So it begins, 4 members of the Board of Commissioners, a Narberth Council member, and 3 members of the school board sat down together on Wednesday, August 6th. Most of us had also gotten together previously, and we hope to have several board member conversations to not only address bus parking issues, but also enrollment growth and any other issues where the 3 governing bodies intersect. These conversations are for brainstorming purposes only. No member has the authority to commit resources or make decisions on behalf of their respective boards. However, they are helpful in gauging what each of us as individuals are prepared to explore and even support. To date, each of the conversations has been very positive, with all parties interested in finding viable solutions. Over the last several months, the school administration has been reviewing bus parking options at existing school properties. Some of these options have been shared with the township staff to see if they are possible. One option includes expanding parking at our current bus facility on Matson Ford Road. Overall, there is general support for the proposal to expand Matson Ford Road, and the administration will be asking the school board to move forward with this option tonight. Other options are still being explored and may change or be dropped altogether for various reasons. It was also noted that over 75% of the school's existing bus fleet is parked in the western part of the township at Matson Ford Road and at Harriton High School. To relocate the existing 24 buses parked at Lower Marion High School to another western location would put 100% of our bus fleet in the west, where student population density is less than the east. Such a move will result in additional operational costs as buses travel a greater distance empty to pick up students residing in the east. All of us present agreed that we should work together to locate additional bus parking in the eastern part of the township. At the present time, we do not have any specific plans on such an option. However, we will continue to work together to locate and discuss options that will benefit the entire communities of Lower Marion and Narberth. As I said, this report was reviewed and agreed upon by those present, and we've just set up our next meeting for next Wednesday, August 27th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Driscoll. At this time, I'd like to ask if there are any questions or comments, particularly to Mr. Ganan's presentation, or does anybody? Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Ganan.
Ms. Schaefer, can you get on the mic to introduce our guest, family member?
Good evening, members of the board, members of the community. It's my great pleasure this evening, subject to the board's approval, to introduce our newest member of our administrative team. Robin Kleibel comes to us as a seasoned assistant principal and will be joining Penn Valley as an assistant principal, and will also be supporting Kenwood Elementary School as well. And we welcome her to the team. And just for a bit of clarification, Lynn Partridge, our wonderful assistant principal that's been serving both Penn Valley and Penn Wynne, will primarily be serving Penn Wynne for the upcoming school year and also supporting Marion Elementary School. So we're just so pleased to have such a strong administrative team to support all of our new students at all of our elementary schools. So I'd like to welcome Robin to the team.
Good evening. I want to thank everyone for this opportunity. I am so grateful and honored to be here. It was, there were some really great questions asked even during the interview process that really got me thinking. And I have already had the opportunity to get to know some of the leadership team through some great retreat that we've had over the last couple of days, and as well as participating in the induction ceremony week workshop. So I've already started reflecting and getting to know the community, and I'm just honored to be here and can't wait to get started.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. I wanted to, for a few minutes, present to the board my goals as the acting superintendent for the 2014-2015 school year. In this, it's a little challenging in terms of thinking about goals as you navigate through this process as we're going through transitions. In terms of tempering your enthusiasm for the work that you're doing and the next steps for the for the district in this position. But nonetheless, it's extremely important that why I been given the pleasure of holding this position until permanent solution is found. It's extremely important that I articulate some of the things that I'd like to think about moving forward during that calendar school year. Some board members here may be familiar with PSBA's new standards for superintendencies. This is the second year of this type of goal-setting form, and the requirement that superintendents are to present their goals and display those goals and have them available online. So what you see here is, and I apologize for the small print, but it will be accessible, in terms of the 5 core areas, language that speaks to performance goals. So I'd like to present some things I've been thinking about with regards to each of those areas and moving forward. And one of those conversations we've been having, and I'm excited that we're having this conversation, is connected to a much larger conversation we started in December, and that is around this idea about student growth and achievement. And in our strategic plan conversations, we've talked about and we've heard from community members about ensuring that our students are not relegated to a data point, and that we don't define success on those sole measures. Though we appreciate and understand the importance of that data point, we know that can't be the only story. So many of the bullets that you see here in areas that I want to think about and continue dialogue is, yes, obviously we want to take accolades for those assessments. Our SAT scores are absolutely fabulous across not only the Commonwealth but across the country, and other matrices that help to paint a story of success in the district, and we're going to continue to follow in that. But what I want to add to the narrative as the acting superintendent and help to engage in dialogue about how do we define success? How do I create an atmosphere and a culture where it is not solely on standardized tests? How do we allow teachers to have greater autonomy in a landscape that oftentimes does not allow that to happen? So I'm very excited not only about the conversation, but really setting the groundwork for us to think differently and to allow teachers the space to do that, to think about there are other ways that we can measure success, other ways we can celebrate success, and create a platform where our faculty is opened to investigate those without fear of, well, I'm locked into this particular area, I can't think differently because of that process. So that goal, really, though we talk about achievement, we talk about growth, we talk about some of the standards that the state has set for us in terms of school performance, in terms of those other areas that we have to report on. I'm trying to create an atmosphere where we can add to the conversation, where that it's not just about teacher effectiveness in terms of a rating tool. It's not just about the success of students defined by a standard assessment. So I hope we move in that direction and during my time in this position. And then the other area that I want to talk about briefly is around organizational leadership, and that I've had the opportunity to wear several hats in this district, and very fortunate for those opportunities. I believe in building capacity. We have a tremendous amount of talent in this district, obviously, and I want to make sure that we create a system that that cultivates that nurtures that, and allows for a system that embraces and gives individuals opportunity to do that. We are obviously experiencing growth. There are some transitions that are taking place in central office, and I want to make sure that I lay the groundwork for that work to continue into the 14-15 school year. And then there's this conversation around operational and fiscal management. And we're extremely blessed in this district, very fortunate to have a community that places such a high value on teaching and learning. Lower Marion School District continues to be the destination of choice. And because of that, it puts a strain on our operations and our fiscal management of that process as well. And the issue around sustainability, how do we continue to deliver the same level of excellence in light of or in spite of increasing enrollment and shrinking revenue. So I want to encourage dialogue and conversation, not only about obviously managing the budget and being fiscally responsible. That goes without saying in terms of the nature of the position, but it's really about how do we continue to think differently about the way in which we think about alternative revenue sources, to continue that the legacy that we have within the district. So I'm really excited about this particular goal and engaging the community and others to think about that moving forward. And the area that, and I'm smiling about this, if those, I apologize you can't see me, for the board members in terms of, and those watching, I'm excited about this because I officially joined the bandwagon with social media and have a Twitter account, and delivered my first tweet the other day and continue to do so, excited today with our new teacher induction program. And part of that was my commitment to, during this school year, to think and leverage technology in a very different way through the superintendency's office, and to create a window where I'd like to share as much information with the public as possible, and social media allows that to happen. We're very committed to ensuring that there's transparency and or continued transparency in our communication moving forward. I don't know what the term is, but I snapped my first Instagram yesterday as well, and posted that. I'm really excited with regards to providing video updates to the community on a month-and-a-half basis, where I will be with presenting highlights of the district at specific schools, talking about the success of our district, the success of our teachers, the success of our students, and they will be joining me as we talk about that. So I think it's extremely important that we continue that open and transparent dialogue, and I'm working very closely with Doug Young, our communications director, to leverage that as much as possible. I was timid about that process, so I had a little prodding in terms of yesterday's coaching when Doug said, "It's okay to hit send." I'm like, "Are you sure? How many people get to see this?" So I'm excited that I have 30 friends so far who are following me across the board. So I'm excited about that opportunity to leverage technology in a very different way, to communicate to the community, and obviously the other traditional ways as well. So in addition to that, we wanted to make sure that we talk about our continued support of our human resources management and how we're supporting our staff and how we're providing meaningful, real-time professional learning experience. How are we continue to attract and recruit the best educators out there, and in order to do that, the pool is narrowing. You have to get that out there a lot earlier. You cannot wait till students finish their program sometimes to do that. There are some great candidates out there, and we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to speak to them and talk about that Lower Merion experience that we've come to value and support and appreciate. So I want to think about ways to recruit and retain our staff, and think differently about ways we're identifying highly qualified and candidates, and continue our commitment to equity, access, and opportunity and diversity as we move forward. So with that, if there's any questions that I can answer to the board, I will do that.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Marseille. I'll follow you now that I know you're actually on Twitter.
That's 31.
You can be 31. I actually have a question for you, Mr. Roos, about process, because am I correct that we vote on these priorities next meeting, that there's a time?
That's correct. That gives you and the community a full month to process these goals and provide input.
Okay, so will these be I mean, I know the point is to post them after we vote on them, but will these be posted in the meantime so that people can comment? How does that?
They can be posted as proposed goals, sure.
Can we do that? I think that would be a good idea so that people
Absolutely.
can comment on them. So, okay, thanks.
Thank
Are
you.
there any other questions or comments right now? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time now, I would like to ask if anyone would like to speak to an agenda item only, and that would include the presentations as well. So if you have questions or comments around the bus issue, please come sign in with Ms. LaPera.
I have some already.
You already have people. Okay, so before everyone gets started, if you are interested in speaking to an agenda item only, please come sign in now. Once we have that list, we'll go ahead and take comments. And again, we will also take comment at the end of the meeting on any issue, but right now we do on agenda items only. So if you would like to speak, please come sign in right now. We need you to give us your name and your address. You can only speak if you live in the district. So please, when you come up to speak, give us your name and your general location. You don't have to give us your address. And there's a 3-minute time limit. So we'll just give everyone a chance to sign up who would like to speak. Denise, who's the first person?
I'm sorry. It's upside down, I can't say. Debbie Henry, then Barry Polis, and David Haas.
Okay, so if you could please come up to the front. You can come on over here and just introduce yourself, say what area of the district you live in. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Debbie Epstein Henry. I live in Ardmore, a neighbor of Lower Merion High School. I'm here tonight to express my support for the board's decision to look into the expansion of the Matson Ford Road site. And my recommendation and support for that recommendation, I should say, is really grounded in the notion of sharing the responsibility in the district for the buses and the increased expansion in the community. As a neighbor of Lower Merion High School, when we were at this the last go around, there were certain representations, as the board knows, that was made to the Lower Merion High School community about how the reconstruction would be done. And one of those representations was that there'd be no more than 24 buses on the site, and another was that the high schools would be rebuilt at equal sizes. There has been on the table other discussions about bringing more buses, of course, to Lower Merion, as well as more students and more staff and student parking. And what as a member of this community, what I really want to express and emphasize is that this has to be a shared responsibility. And if the neighbors of Lower Merion have to not only face the fact that the schools are now going to be unequal sizes, as was not promised, and also then potentially face increased parking for cars, for staff and students, as well as increased buses, that's clearly a disproportionate burden for the neighbors of Lower Merion High School. And really, as a neighbor of the high school, I'm just asking that that responsibility be shared. And I think it's not only a fairness issue for the full district to share the responsibilities of the increased enrollment, it's also a credibility issue for this board. The board has represented to the community that it would not exceed the 24 bus limit, and it would not exceed, create high schools of unequal size, and that the fact that those things are even under consideration, I think really raises a credibility issue. And I think the credibility issue there is also very apparent with the miscalculations about the enrollment. This was just a few years ago when these calculations were anticipated. And so in closing, I want to thank you again for listening and really emphasize my theme here, which is about sharing responsibility among all the communities in the district. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I just want to clarify one point. There's been no discussion of increasing the number of buses above 24 at the high school site. That's a condition of approval. So I just want to make that clear. But thank you.
My name is Barry Polis. I live in Bala Avenue in Bala Cynwyd.
Welcome.
I want to commend the superintendent and Lower Merion School District for using the existing Lower Merion properties and not acquiring functioning real estate that is tax producing and business generating real estate, recognizing the impact of school bus depot causing detrimental effects on residential, recreational, commercial, and retail communities. School buses belong on Lower Merion School District properties. Our Lower Merion Township Commissioners have indicated they will cooperate with zoning to allow Lower Merion School District properties to support more school busing and vehicle parking. Cost-effective solutions and tax dollars should be funneled into educational uses, not into accommodating excessive student parking accommodations. I commend the efficient use of Lower Merion School District property outside here where 24 buses are located. I question how many car parking spaces can possibly replace that space, because it is, to my eyes, very efficient use of space for the busing. Both my daughters are graduates of Lower Merion High School. They took the buses from 1st to 12th grade. Using busing as part of an educational and social development process to attending school is part of the educational process. Extensive economic investment and tax dollars have been invested into the school busing fleet and the bus services. There should be a public transportation incentive and educational policy at Lower Merion School District, educating students to the importance of using public transportation and the benefit to the environment and the overall quality of the community for using public transportation. The future of a better society is not in individuals in driving cars to their destination, but in promoting the benefit of community using public transportation, while as a student as well as an adult member of society. Lower Merion School District should encourage Lower Merion Township to issue parking permits for residential property owners in the high school vicinity, as in Center City, so that permit parking should be a requirement. This is done in Philadelphia. Individual student parking should be discouraged, and pay for parking permits for students should be issued. All vehicle parking on school property during school hours should have permits, as in a university area. The same pay for use is, I as a taxpayer have to pay to use the pool here in Lower Merion. There should be a lottery for a limited number of student parking locations, and it should be based on economic merit. Having a student parking place should be a privilege earned by academic merit and not earned by the academic status of an individual's family. In conclusion, there is a student parking problem at Lower Merion that should be addressed, and it's really more a student parking problem than a busing problem. I have one creative suggestion for you. The leadership of Lower Merion School, I think this will benefit everybody if you give me a little leeway here. The high school-based school bus transit system might be augmented in the future to be part of a public transportation area to Lower Merion Township, which is inadequately serviced by the SEPTA busing system.
Thank you, Mr. Polis.
Okay,
Thank
sir. Thank you very much, Mr.
you.
Paulus.
Mr. Haas. and-
Yeah, and thank you for your comments. I want to clarify. I want to clarify and say that with regards to the number of spots students are allocated, that is not a decision made by the district, and I'm sure Pat Canan can explain that more thoroughly. However, the township is very clear in terms of the number of student parking spots that we are required to reserve.
If the township ordinance is that there's a requirement for there to be 3 spaces for every 4 students who are age eligible to drive. In fact, both Lower Merion and Harriton have gotten some relief from that, but that's the township's role. It's got nothing to do if the school district managed to get everybody, incentivize all students not to park on the high school tomorrow, it wouldn't eliminate the need for those spaces.
I'm sorry, let me ask a question about I'm sorry, go ahead, Ken.
This is not, this is a zoning, this would require approval from the zoning hearing board, which is not the commissioners.
And I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Roos.
He mentioned about the lottery. Can I get clarification? I thought we had a lottery here at Lower Merion.
We do have a lottery at Lower Merion High School that allows for those 99 spots that we've been with regards to zoning have to provide.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. My name is David Haas. I serve on the board of the Bala-Cynwyd Neighborhood Club, and I live in Bala-Cynwyd. First, I want to commend the school board on working with the township commissioners and Narberth Borough Council members in trying to come up with a solution to the parking problem. I think the school board should be commended at looking at alternatives other than a parking depot on Bala Avenue. And I encourage the board to consider several important factors, some of which you've heard already, but I want to reiterate them. Consider the relative fiscal impacts of using existing Lower Merion School District property rather than buying additional property. Consider what is the best use of tax revenues. Is it better to expand or adapt existing properties or pay additional money to acquire yet another property? We ask the school board to commit to a goal of preserving the tax base for revenues needed not only for the increased district demands to account for increased enrollment and on an ongoing basis into the future. Consider the negative impact on the school district and the township of Lower Merion in converting existing taxable property to non-taxable property by going out and buying a commercial property which is currently paying taxes and now turning it into school district owned property. That's a negative impact on the community and on the school district. Consider the comparative impacts on the communities where buses are to be parked. A wholly new and inconsistent use of property on Bala Avenue versus the incremental impact of adding buses to properties where buses are already parked. We believe these factors and others all point to the wisdom of not choosing a site on Bala Avenue for the bus depot. And I thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you very much, sir.
Val Hiscock, Linda Katz, Judy Turetsky.
Hello, I'm Val Hiscock, and I'm president of the North Ardmore Civic Association. And we want to thank you, school board and administrators, for realizing the need to address the problem of congestion on this site. As more students are moved to this site, we all knew that something would have to leave, and so it makes good sense to us to get the buses off first. We want you to continue to realize that the site has limited space. It's landlocked, and our neighborhood, frankly, is on 3 sides of the site. So, you know, that is our reason for being here this evening. As enrollment here at the high school continues to grow, finding space for the additional students, for the cars, for the teachers, will continue to be a challenge for you. We realize that, and so we want to implore you to continue to think outside the box, as you have, about what can leave the site in order to make room for the students. I liked the idea of the of encouraging public transportation. I think you've heard that from us before. We have a really good public transportation system here, and we have almost all of our teachers driving to school. Wouldn't it be nice to provide them with a real subsidy for public transportation to encourage them not to bring their cars? What a good example for our kids to see the teachers taking public transportation. It's a great idea. So we just want to implore you to keep up the good work. Moving the buses off the site is a good step. We just really appreciate the thoughtful, appropriate plan to expand the district's transportation facility at Masson Ford Road. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Katz, and I'm the corresponding.
I'm sorry, can you talk into the mic?
Sure.
Otherwise, nobody will be able to hear you. Thank you.
I definitely want you to hear me.
Okay.
Linda Katz, and I am a neighbor of the school. I'm also corresponding secretary of North Ardmore Civic Association, and I've been a neighbor of Lower Merion High School for 39 years. I just want to echo the remarks made by Val Hiscock and Debbie Epstein-Henry about this neighborhood being overburdened with the projected number of students that will be a part of the district. This should not be about overburdening one area over the rest of the neighborhoods. I want to commend you for looking at alternative sites for the buses. We appreciate your doing that. Promises were made to limit the number of buses on the Lower Merion site and to have 2 high schools of equal size. I understand that the increased enrollment has made you look at making this site have more students, but we hope that you'll still honor not overburdening our neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Judy Turetsky. I live in Ballackinwood. There are 2 things I'd like to address. One is the bus issue, and I'd like to commend you for speaking with and discussing with the neighborhood, the township, and the Narberth Council the various options to deal with the buses. I'm delighted that you are looking at options besides Bala Avenue and that you're looking seriously at other options. I do have a question about that. It was stated that 20 additional buses would fit on a deck at Matson Ford, and I was wondering whether that would be 20 full-size buses. Does anybody know the answer to that?
Pat, do we have the answer in terms of how many possible, based on that configuration, how many of those 20 could be full, or is it a combination of full and shorter buses?
I don't have the answer to that. The whole thing is still a concept.
It's a concept, and when we have all that information, we most definitely will share that with the community.
The other issue is one that that you were talking about, the expansion into this building of the high school here. And based on the configurations and the use of the building now, it seems like the majority of the space currently available for use as a high school is on the 3rd floor. And I would implore you as a board to consider, when you're doing the renovations and expansion into this building, that you consider that expanding onto the 3rd floor means that the time spent in changing classrooms would be a huge amount of time, especially if students are coming from the 3rd floor in the other building to the 3rd floor in this building, especially for students who might be impaired, whether temporarily or permanently, with spatial relationship issues, with physical challenges, or other issues that make it difficult for them to maneuver, and that any needs that they have in order to make those transitions are in place for them as much as they need, because it's going to be difficult, especially for those transitioning to a 3rd floor class.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have looked into that, and we will continue to do our due diligence to ensure that, with regards to travel time, in regards to steps and things of that nature, that our students are provided with not only the time but the ability to navigate through that. So we're very confident that we can address that.
My name is Ruth Jenkin. I live on Worcester Road, right around the corner. I'd like to address the proposed performance indicators. I've seen these performance indicators almost every year as the school starts. It's almost a requirement of, putting out what your intentions are, but I find them year after year to be very general, very vague, and with no specifics. And one of the things I'd like to see is how you actually are going to implement some of these ideas, what strategies you have, what alternate success identifiers you're going to have, the achievement gap. I've been talking for 10 years about early intervention and getting the full day kindergarten, especially for students identified as needing extra time, and additional summer school that doesn't cost $800 a course for students that need this extra help. I would like to see you certainly be more creative. All of the words that you use are appropriate words, but I don't have any specifics of how you're going to actually carry this on. You want to have a dialogue and a conversation with the community. What is your plan for that? How is that going to happen? So, transparency is not always the strong suit of this board, and consistency and promises are often altered. And I would like to see more specific information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have to say that being in this position, you think about the work that this district has been engaged in. I've been in this district for 7 years. There has been a strategic plan that was put into place that talked about the areas that you specifically mentioned. Work that Dr. McGinley during his tenure has moved through. There continues to be work in those particular areas around intervention, obviously around the achievement gap, and those won't continue to go away. So with regards to the communication piece, one of the platforms I said earlier was really trying to get out as much as possible from my office information that takes place in these meetings and other meetings as we move forward, so that community members who are unable to be here tonight, who may not be able to navigate through the website or wait for those items to be posted, that we create these really short narratives that allow individuals to do that. But since I've been in this district as an assistant principal, as director of secondary and so forth, we've been very committed to looking at issues of achievement around equity, access, and opportunity. We've defined that solely based on how we report out. How we've reported out is the PSSA scores. Yes, we celebrate those scores, but I want the district, and part of my goal is to think differently about what success looks like for every single student. Just because a student did not score proficient or advanced on a standardized test in May does not define his or her ability to succeed in this district. It's those type of innovative conversations that I'm hoping to continue to have throughout that process. Once the board has an opportunity to, and the committee to have feedback with those goals, and we will move forward and place whatever recommendations the board wants to move with, and I'll be more than happy to serve like I have in the last 7 years.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'm sorry, Ms. LaPera, there's no one else, right? Okay. Don't wanna. At this time, we're going to move into some of our routine actions, and we need to approve the minutes of the August 18th regular business board meeting. No, I'm sorry, this is the August 18th board meeting. I'm jumping ahead. The July 21st regular business board meeting, as well as the August 14th Facilities and Purchasing Committee meeting. So we need to do both the July 21st and the August 14th meetings. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Van Lynch to give us an update on the superintendent search.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Upon Dr. McGinley's departure, Dr. Gilbert asked that I serve as chair of the Superintendent Search Committee. The committee is comprised of myself, Ms. Pollard, Mr. Bonaventuro, Ms. Robinson, Ms. Ackman, and Dr. Golden. The committee has met throughout the summer with the following considerations in mind. First, to identify the board's priorities and constraints regarding a search firm that would guide our work in identifying the best possible candidates to be considered for the Lower Merion School District Superintendent position. We worked on those considerations during the months of May and June. To select, with the assistance of Ms. Megan Schaefer, Senior Director of Policy, Personnel, and School Programs, firms that met the board selection criteria. We worked on those considerations June and July. And then finally, to interview face-to-face a subset of committee-identified firms that could best meet the full board's priorities. And these priorities include focus and process for community and stakeholder engagement in the search, firms that specialize in educational administrative searches in particular, firms that had a strong familiarity with high-performing suburban districts in our region, such as Lower Merion School District, what the search timeline would look like, and finally, the range and cost of services. 5 firms were thoroughly vetted and considered. These included the Chester County Intermediate Unit, Penn Search, McPherson and Jacobson, Ray and Associates, BWP and Associates, Pennsylvania School Board Association, and ProAct Search. Ray and Associates, BWP and Associates, and McPherson and Jacobson were the 3 that met the board's search criteria and were selected for interviews, which took place on the evenings of Monday, August 4th and Tuesday, August 5th. The committee plans to make a recommendation to the full board prior to the September 22nd business meeting. And I want to thank the committee members and the administration, especially Denise LaPera and Megan Schaefer, for their commitment and dedication to identifying the best possible candidate to lead Lower Merion School District. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Van Lynch. Dr. Marseille?
Thank you. Superintendent recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the human resource action listed in Exhibit HR-1 through HR-5.
Do you have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves their agreement with Solution Tree to provide custom learning regarding RTI during the 2014-15 school year at Harrington at Lower Marion High School in the amount of $21,341.20.
Are there any questions?
I did have a question. Dr. Marseille, could you speak a bit more about RTI and how we're utilizing those services in the high schools, and then if we're considering them for the middle or elementary schools at all?
Yeah, one of the things that came out of our curriculum conversations with teachers in terms of analyzing the data is strategies to immediately that can be implemented around intervention. And though RTI is a very specific model, a systematic model, that is not a model that we have embraced. However, we believe that there are things within the RTI model that our teachers are very interested in learning more about and getting those intervention skills, because it's two different things once you have the data that identifies where the gap is or some further instruction can take place, and another to implement the appropriate strategies for that. So we're hoping that Solution Tree, since we've worked with them prior, can begin to provide a mechanism for those additional, actually, teachers talk about, I need more tools in my tool belt. And part of this conversation, though it is not an RTI model, is what we can learn about interventions that have been proven to be effective for some students. And maybe we can replicate that and make it our own.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the agreement with Peter Noonan to provide customized services and training regarding professional learning communities for both the department leadership and collaborative teams for the 2014-15 year in the amount of $24,000.
Are there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the subscription renewal with SunGuard Public Sector for the use of Performance Tracker for the period of June 1st, 2014 through May 31st, 2015, the amount of $28,437.96.
Are there any questions? Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you. The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the agreement with Watershed Counseling and Consultation Services, LLC, for Dr. Jean Stanley to provide training on the foundations of social cultural identities in relation to teaching and learning in our school.
Are there any questions? Do you have a motion? Oh, sorry.
Is this someone that we've used before, or is this new?
We have used Dr. Stanley's services before and led when we did a comprehensive professional development, professional learning experience on cultural proficiency. After that, we invited Dr. Stanley from Penn to help us think about other areas of identity that impact teaching and learning. So she has been working with the district previously.
Do you have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the Study Island contract with addendum for services during the 2014-15 school year to support classroom instruction in grades 6 to 10 for a one-year renewal of $18,980.
Are there any questions?
I do have a question. We use Study Island in elementary schools as well. This is just separate contract?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have a motion to approve?
Sorry.
Oh, I'm
Another
sorry.
question. That's okay. Would it be possible at the end of a year to get an update on how effective this was? I can see you piloted it with a few cases, but will we have more numbers later in the year?
Yes, we will do that. The application provides opportunity to see the growth that students are making along the way.
Great, thank you.
That would be in the curriculum.
Yes, when we get that data, we will we'll present it to the curriculum committee of the board.
Are there any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion to approve? Thank you, Maureen. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you. The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the independent consulting contract with Joan Huggins for administering and scoring WAPT English as a second language test to new LMSD students from July 1st to August 31st, 2014 at a rate of $47.78 per hour.
Are there any questions? Go for it.
It's all curriculum on here, so I do have a couple questions. Just one question on this one, actually, though. Do we typically outsource this in terms of evaluating these kinds of assessments?
I think there were some scheduling issues. I'm not really sure
From a timing perspective?
from a timing perspective how
Okay.
that worked and why
I
we did
just
that.
needed clarification.
Yeah.
That's fine, thanks.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes.
Thank you. The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the My Learning Plan renewal through MCIU Consortium for the terms of July 1st, 2014 through June 30th, 2015 at a cost of $12,019.
Okay, are there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
Thank you. The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the student services items as listed. Agreements for student services, agreement for students receiving non-district educational services per exhibits SS-1 through SS-9.
Are there any questions? Do I have a motion to approve? Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Oh. Yeah, we're already there. Yes. Mr. Driscoll, can you give a report from the Facilities and Purchasing Committee?
Yes, the Facilities and Purchase Committee met this past Thursday, August 14th at 8:30 a.m. in this building. We reviewed the list of bills, typical things, electric bills, and stuff like that. We then moved on to review contracts for receiving internet services from the MCIU. A few months ago, we experienced some internet issues that required us to disable some email activity and web services for a few days. Once that was cleared up, it was decided to enter a new contract with Level 3 to be the provider of internet services to LMSD. These contracts will allow for transition from some MCIU services while retaining other MCIU services. We then went on to review contracts regarding contracting bus services. Given that bus issues are big these days, these contracts primarily provide support for the district in driving students with special needs to certain locations, as well as providing for transportation to some sporting events and field trips. The vast majority of daily pickups and drop-offs are currently done and will continue to be done by LMSD employees. We also discussed renewing a services contract with Lutron Lighting. Lower Merion High School has a very sophisticated lighting system that is controlled mainly by computers and software. As an example, lights are automatically turned off or dimmed in the evening when everyone has gone home. This contract requires Lutron to maintain and repair that control system. We also reviewed a services contract for David Blackmore Associates to provide testing and inspection work for the Welsh Valley construction project. The types of services to be provided are standard for such a construction project. We also reviewed change orders to our existing construction projects at Kinwood Elementary, Penn Valley Elementary, Gladwin Elementary, and Welsh Valley Middle School. And at the end, we were given an update on our elementary and middle school enrollment expansion projects from Reynolds. Our next Facilities and Purchasing Committee meeting will be on September 18th at 8:30 in this building. Thank you.
Okay, under Business Office and Finance, we have three recommended action items. I'm going to take them in one motion. The first is to approve the list of bills for payment, approve the financial report for July 2014, and also to accept with pleasure donation of $100 from Lyman Wang to the school district pursuant to policy 702.
On behalf of the board, we'd like to thank Lyman Wing for the donation. Are there any questions at this time? Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do you have a second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
Under Facilities and Operations, we have motions A through I, and Mr. Driscoll went over. These items were discussed at the facilities meeting, and the other, I think, 2 items were reviewed with the board. So I'm going to take them in one motion unless a board member would like me to separate any particular motion. Okay.
You're doing A through I?
Correct. Is there any one you want to separate?
Maybe we should separate out G. This is the proposal for professional services.
For Barry, I said.
And we can explain
Okay.
what that is. So why don't we do everything but G, and then you can maybe explain G. I'm sorry, G and H. No, absolutely.
Okay. All right, so the first recommended action item is to authorize administration to execute an amendment to the agreement of sale with the Lower Marion Synagogue for the sale of 111 Una Avenue. Approve the MCIU month-to-month internet and Internet 2 service contracts, which is subject to solicitor review. Approve the renewal of the Lutron Technology Support Plan for a fee of $10,799. Approve the professional services with David Blackmore Associates, Inc., an additional work order for a fee not to exceed $64,716.11. Approve the agreements for student transportation following transportation contractors. Okay, sorry about that. Where was I? The attachments for the transportation, Atlas Transportation, Philly Transportation, Sage Bus, Superior Bus Services, Inc., Wilson Metz, Winwright Transportation, Germantown Cab. Also, agreement for student transportation with Werner Bus Lines, Inc. And then the last one will be approve the change orders for the repair to the promenade wall at Kinwood Elementary, a change order to the additions and alterations at Gladwin Elementary, change order to the additions and alterations at Penn Valley Elementary School, and also change order at Walsh Valley Middle School for additions and alterations.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure everyone's clear. Right now, we're going to vote on everything except for G and H. So are there any questions about any of the other items? I know this is what we reviewed in the facilities meeting. No questions. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do you have a second? Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that motion passes. And now can we do G and H, please?
This is motion G. The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the proposal dated August 8, 2014 for professional services for the district's Matson Ford Road property with Barry Isett and Associates for an amount not to exceed $95,500 per the attachment. The services will be utilized by the administration on an as-needed basis, and there's no obligation on the part of the district to authorize all the service listed. Motion H, the administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the proposal dated August 6, 2014 for professional services for the district's Matson Ford Road property with F. Tavani and Associates for an estimated amount of $6,700 per the attachment. The services will be utilized by the administration on an as-needed basis, and there's no obligation on the part of the district to authorize all of the services listed.
Okay, so just to be clear, that what we're authorizing is to spend some money initially to get a sense of the feasibility of Matson Ford Road, and that the bulk of the money would come, later once we were determining
That is
sort of the
correct.
initial feasibility. Okay.
Correct.
Are there any questions or comments?
I do have a question regarding the Barry Isett contract. The numbers for the land development piece of that contract seemed awfully high to me. Is that for design, or is that for actually going before the township during land development? Or is it both? Or is it something else that I'm mistaken?
There are actually several steps to land development. If you look in the proposal, they outline that. There's tentative sketch, there's preliminary plan, and there's final plan. The bulk of the money is related to preliminary plan, and I think that's what you're referring to. And that is because at that stage, they're required to do all the design work for the stormwater management system, primarily that. But there is design work involved.
So do you have a sense of where the cutoff points are, where we can make our decision to stop or move forward, and what the amount that we've committed? So the initial piece of the commitment conceivably is only maybe $10,000 or $12,000, but then once we get to land, because it's 90 total, and I think I looked at 50 or 60 was land development, which is considerable.
I'm going to have to grab a copy of that proposal.
Okay.
I think the logical point to progress initially would be to do what is required for tentative sketch. We would not actually have to file the tentative sketch plan without the board's approval.
Okay, so the landscape design wouldn't be part of that, the zoning wouldn't be part of that, the preliminary land development wouldn't be part of that?
No, I would say everything up to preliminary land development would be part of that.
Oh, including the
You
landscape
may not
design?
spend all the money for each one of those items, but that would be involved in that.
Okay, so we're
So
talking
it's
1,500.
$15,500.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you.
Sorry, Pat, I have another question if you don't mind. I mean, these numbers we're seeing though, that, I mean, if we were to do construction just about anywhere, these numbers would be relatively to scale. It's you know, we can't get away from this absent not doing construction is where I'm going. Is that true? Some of these costs?
That's correct. This represents the cost involved in going through and getting zoning and land development approvals. As part of that process, you get some design work.
Right.
You don't get all the design work.
But only if we could do a non-construction solution could we avoid paying something like that.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any other questions? Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Okay. At this time, we're going to, I'm asking that we approve the appointment of Ms. Virginia Pollard and Dr. Marissa Golden as voting delegates for the Pennsylvania School Board Association's 2014 Delegate Assembly. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, you have another job to do. So, okay, thank you for being willing to do that. We don't have other committee reports at this time, only Facilities and Purchasing Committee meets during the summer. All other committee meetings will be resuming very shortly. At this time, would anyone like to speak on any item? It doesn't have to be an agenda item, it can be on any item. Please come sign in, and when you're ready to speak, state your name and just generally where you live, and there's a 3-minute time limit. Welcome.
My name is Marie Beresford. I live in Lower Merion. I'm going to be very brief. Everyone is gone now. everyone who had something to say about the buses and everything else. And I've been attending meetings for a long time, not as long as Diane, but for a long time. And I would just like to say that I appreciate the work you do, and I really, really hope that you can move past this stuff and get back to curriculum. As a parent, I should say that I have 2 children in the district. As a parent, I hope that you can, I understand all of this, but let's really get back to thinking about curriculum and those kind of things. And thank you for your work and all your time.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. My name is Vanessa Cohen. I'm a resident of Bala Kinwood. I have a first grader at Kinwood Elementary. Sorry to bring it back to the buses quickly, but I just got involved with the bus issue as everything started coming to the fore earlier this summer, and I attended the last meeting, I believe in July, and then I was driving on the way home trying to think about creative solutions to this problem, and I sent an email, and I think you got it, but I'm not sure, but I just wanted to kind of put it out there again as a perhaps non-construction issue about utilizing existing parking spaces in the township. And what came to me was sort of what spaces are available that are maybe recreation and use over the summer, and I thought of the Belmont Hills Pool parking facility. I have no idea if that's even a feasible option or not, but I just like the idea that the parking lot is set back from the street, and Mary Watersford Road already handles the buses going up to Belmont Hills, and sort of that facility surrounded on 3 sides by woods and a library, and so hopefully there wouldn't be as much pushback from the neighbors about potentially housing some buses there, but just thinking of utilizing a space that's not otherwise used in the wintertime during the school session as sort of an out-of-box option. I was thinking about perhaps any outfitting or retrofitting of the existing structure there that's used for locker rooms and things of that nature. I don't know if maybe that could be retrofitted for a way station for staff or drivers to kind of utilize as they transition from their cars to driving their buses. But again, no idea, just trying to think outside the box. I was feeling for you after the last meeting, really. I mean, this is not an easy solution, and I often toyed around with the idea of wanting to become a school board member at some point, and I said, well, really, these issues are very, very difficult, and I admire the work you're doing. I appreciate you reaching out to the community, working with the community, and I'm curious what the resolution will bring, but hopefully most people will be happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I thought Pat, did we not look at Belmont Hills at least preliminarily?
We took a preliminary look at it.
I'm sorry, but I thought we did. I just want to see if we did look
yes,
at it.
Yes, I love your enthusiasm, and thank you very much for providing us that recommendation. We did look at the Belmont Hills Pool, and for a number of reasons that came off our list because of around retrofitting in terms of that area, the size in terms of the number of buses that we could fit. Then we talked about the logistics in terms of moving buses between the seasons and the conflicting schedule that has. So thank you very much. We welcome other recommendations, and when we do get them, we do take them seriously, and we go out and we try to see is that feasible and how that work across the board. So at that time, and it doesn't seem like the pool's going to get any larger, but it does not fit our current needs. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I just want to report that in accordance with the Sunshine Act, that we met this evening to discuss real estate. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, and with that, we are adjourned, so enjoy the last few days of summer before the school year starts up. I know it started up for you already, but still. Okay, thank you. Good night, everyone.